Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. 844-374-5433. That's the number to call to speak with me live today for free advice about what you can do right now with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition to get you into the game of healing, which the medical doctors, the MDs, the allopathic reductionists, have let you down. Medical doctors may be the nicest people that God ever created, but they do not know what's best for you. They only know what they've been trained in, and what they've been trained in is an outdated, old-fashioned, archaic medical philosophy, medical treatment strategy. Chemotherapy in the spotlight today. New research shows childhood cancer survivors, now it's affecting the kids. Childhood cancer survivors may face an increased risk of heart damage after exposure to certain chemotherapy and radiation treatments. Previous research has linked cancer drugs known as anthracyclines to weakening of the heart muscle. Research has also tied some radiation therapy to cardiac rhythm disorders and structural damage in arteries and valves. The current study not only reinforces these risks, it also suggests that many childhood cancer survivors may encounter serious cardiac issues at a relatively young age when doctors may not routinely screen patients for heart disease. This from Dr. Daniel Mulrooney of St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. This from foxnews.health, foxnews.health. This is interesting, don't you think? Because a rational person would look at something like this. A rational person would look at something like this. Son of a gun, they're using chemotherapy for cancer. Chemotherapy has been proven to be ineffective in the treatment of cancer, but they're using chemotherapy anyway. Published and proven to be ineffective. They're using chemotherapy. And the side effects of chemotherapy are pretty serious. It has a serious negative effect on the heart and the cardiovascular system in our kids. And so a rational person would think to themselves, well, why should we continue with the chemotherapy and the radiation? Why don't we find another way? Because we know these treatments are ineffective. That's what a rational person would do. But your conventional medical doctor is not rational. Now, in all fairness, there are a few types of childhood leukemia, that conventional medical treatment, chemotherapy, and radiation is effective for. A very, very small percentage. In adult onset cancer, chemotherapy is completely ineffective. It doesn't work. And if you don't believe me, just do a little survey the next time you're at church. Do a little survey, ask everybody in the congregation who knows somebody who's had cancer and been treated with chemotherapy to stand up, and then ask all of those people who are standing, if the person that they know who had chemotherapy is still alive, please sit down. You will see how many people chemotherapy doesn't work for. It's the vast majority. It's upwards of 97%. 97% of the time, the published research shows that chemotherapy doesn't work. And when it does work, right, it produces unbelievable side effects because the cancer, the tumor, is not the disease. It is the result of the disease. The tumor is the result of the disease. So if you burn the tumor with radiation, if you dissolve the tumor with chemotherapy, if you cut the tumor out with surgery, it does nothing whatsoever to get to the underlying cause of what caused the tumor to happen in the first place. So what happens? The tumor comes back. This is the problem. My cancer is in remission. Well, not for long. This is why the American Cancer Society years ago stopped even considering the word cure when it came to cancer treatment. Now they talk about 5-year survivalship. Oh, isn't that just great? This is the new normal, right? Mediocrity. Well, if you have cancer and you've been treated with ineffective chemo, radiation, and surgery to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and untold negative effects on the quality of your life. Your personality goes to crap, your sleep goes to crap, your pain accelerates, your life goes over the cliff into a swamp that's on fire. It's bad. Nobody talks about the negative effects on the quality of life that conventional cancer treatment has. You just have to suck it up and soldier on and fight the cancer, right? Fight. You have to be a fighter. You have to be okay with your hair falling out. You have to be okay with your teeth falling out. You have to be okay with having incontinence every time you sneeze. You have to be okay with your personality changing. You have to be okay with crying at the drop of a hat and getting angry for no reason whatsoever. You have to be okay with not being able to complete a sentence. You have to be okay with not being able to remember things. Chemo brain, they call it. You have to be okay with all of these things. You have to soldier on. And then you die. And this passes for the best medicine that modern science has to offer. And it's nonsense. The only reason that conventional cancer treatment continues to persist is because it is a gigantic moneymaker and the medical doctors are intellectual cowards. And medical oncologists know that it doesn't work. They know that it doesn't work. But it's the only arrow in their quiver. So they're going to shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it because it's the standard of care. And they're going to be looked at sideways by their employers if they don't prescribe it. They're going to lose their job if they don't prescribe it, and they're going to have to do something else. Now, if you just devoted 15 years of your life to medical education and hundreds of thousands of dollars, are you going to abandon that because the therapies that you were taught and the therapies that all your colleagues do don't work? Who's going to abandon that? Very few people will abandon that. And this is why these therapeutics persist, because your medical doctor is a coward. He's a coward. He or she is a coward. And people, the worst of the bunch, ladies and gentlemen, are the naturopathic physicians that work for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, in my opinion. Because the therapeutics delivered by Cancer Treatment Centers of America also fail. They don't work. And this is published data. You can go to Cancer Treatment Centers of America website and you can look and see. There's graphs of the 5-year survival time between the normal standard of care and the Cancer Treatment Centers of care. And you get a little bit greater percentage of people who are alive after 5 years of Cancer Treatment Centers of America cancer treatments. There is, but it's a small percentage. And after 5 years, most people who have cancer, whether they're treated at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America or elsewhere, are dead from cancer. Cancer treatment doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't cure the cancer. What does it do? Well, it extends your life. Well, does it? I mean, does it extend your life? Has anybody ever done that study to compare the difference between, somebody that didn't get the cancer treatment and someone that did get the cancer treatment? And how long they lived comparatively? I'm not aware of anybody that's done that. Nobody takes into consideration the quality of life. Nobody. Because it's a giant moneymaker. It's a giant moneymaker. And when this happens to our kids, right? So the kids go in for chemo, the kids go in for radiation. And then these treatments create side effects later on in life. Nobody blinks an eyelash. What would happen, do you think, to a chiropractor if he gave a child a treatment, a chiropractic treatment, and it damaged their heart? What would happen? What would happen if a naturopath gave a child an herb and it damaged their heart? What would happen? Well, when a medical doctor does it, we don't blink. We give them a pass. Well, there's no consideration here whatsoever. We think that the medical doctors, doesn't stink and that they can do no wrong. Oh, it's just the practice of science, the practice of medicine. It's collateral damage. No, it's not. It's bad medicine. It's bad medicine based on an old-fashioned, outdated philosophy of healing, which is inconsistent with the reality of the human experience. Your medical doctor is trained in a philosophy of medicine which is wrong. It's wrong. It doesn't work. And yet, they exist in the majority, in the monopoly. And because we don't have a free medical marketplace, because you don't give the naturopaths a chance, because you don't give the chiropractors a chance, because you don't give the acupuncturists a chance or anybody else a chance, the consumer can't compare the difference between the naturopathic treatment or the conventional medical doctor treatment. And don't even get me started about research, because there is not an even playing field in medical research. It all goes towards pharmaceutical research, reductionistic research. It's not homeopathic research. It's not naturopathic research. It's not Ayurvedic research. It's not holistic medical research. It's reductionistic allopathic medical research, and this is my point entirely. That is a failed method. We've given $1 trillion to the MDs to figure out a cure for cancer, and they've dropped the ball. They've failed. Why don't we fire them? Because we have been culturally conditioned to believe that the MDs own medicine. Everybody else doesn't really practice medicine. They do some weird alternative medicine. And that it's all just science anyway, so if the MDs can't figure it out, nobody can figure it out, and this is incorrect. Medical doctors do not practice medicine. They practice allopathic medicine. And allopathic medicine is an old-fashioned, outdated methodology. It does not work. It's a bad, incorrect methodology. It needs to be abandoned. It's not going to be abandoned, not in the near future, because it's a gigantic moneymaker, and they're not going to give up their top dog position. Every time the naturopaths come along and try to get naturopathic medicine licensed and regulated in another state, the MDs roll out their dog and pony show. That's, oh, those naturopaths, don't license them. They practice substandard medicine. Meanwhile, we are dying under the guidance, care, and tutelage of the MDs. It's inside out, it's upside down, it's ass backwards. Ladies and gentlemen, fire your medical doctor now.
Dr. Peter Glidden here. Thanks so much for clicking on the link. I appreciate your trust and your curiosity. Last year in the United States, we spent over $30 billion on nutritional supplements, and everybody's still sick. When it comes to nutritional supplements, the recipe is everything. All wine is made from grapes. But there's a great deal of difference from bottle to bottle, depending on too many variables to count. It's the same with nutritional supplements. If you need to spend hard-earned money on nutritional supplements, which you do because medical insurance doesn't pay for it, did you ever wonder why? Well, that's the subject for an entirely different conversation. But in point of fact, our position is, in order for the body to work the way that God and nature intended it, there are 90 essential nutrients that need to be imported into it on a daily basis. These 90 essential nutrients are not all present in the food supply. You must supplement. It's mandatory. You must give your body the raw materials it needs every day to optimize its structure and function. You must give your body a fighting chance. So you need nutritional supplements. Well, which nutritional supplements should you take? That's the million-dollar question. I've been doing naturopathic medicine, practicing naturopathic medical therapeutics in clinical settings for over a quarter of a century now. And as God is my witness, I am here to tell you that the nutritional supplements which produce the most consistent, effective results are those developed and delivered by Youngevity. If you have finally snapped out of it and seen the light, if you are finally convinced that medical nutrition is what your body has been missing your entire life, and if you're ready to take a walk through the undiscovered country of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, then you need to try Youngevity's nutritional supplements, because they produce the most consistent results of anything I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot in over a quarter of a century of primary care naturopathic medicine. Fill out the form on this page, ladies and gentlemen, click the submit button, and a Youngevity representative whom I know and trust will be in touch with you to show you what to do to support and promote your body's ability to optimize its structure and function. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your trust. I am your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. Live long and prosper. I'll see you around campus.
For goodness sakes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not angry, you're simply not paying attention. Your children are suffering, your parents are suffering, your brothers and sisters are suffering, you're suffering. Everybody is sick, and the reason that everybody is sick is because the skill set that the MDs bring to the table for chronic disease doesn't work. It doesn't work. This is the billion-pound gorilla sitting on planet Earth right now. It's not just North America. It's not just Canada and the U.S. It is a worldwide phenomenon. The medical doctors do not know what they're doing when it comes to chronic disease. They're never going to give up the ghost. They are never going to give it up. You're going to have to fight for first place, which is why everybody and their brother needs to go to my website, glidden.healthcare. This is why everybody and their brother needs to get on board with medical nutrition. And the best medical nutrition that I've seen over the counter, you can get it without having to go to a doctor's office. You can get it right now, is delivered by Youngevity. I love Youngevity's nutritional supplement products. Love them. Youngevity's products produce more consistent results than anything I've ever seen. Anything that I've ever seen. So if I were you, and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you know that there's got to be something else that you can do, well, I would get on board with Youngevity's nutritional supplements, and I would figure out how to take them by going to my website. I would figure out what to do with medical nutrition by educating myself. You had to study that little book, right, to pass the driver's license test. You had someone had to teach you how to drive. Well, it's the same thing here. Someone has to teach you what foods are good, what foods are bad. Someone has to teach you what to do if you have asthma. Someone has to teach you what to do if you're struggling with a blood sugar issue, and it's not that hard, I have to tell you. To get involved in the game of healing, is not that hard. Simple steps that you can take. If you're smart enough to pass the driver's license test, you're smart enough to know what to do to get your body into the game of healing, regardless of what your health condition is. Linus Pauling himself, 2-time Nobel Prize winner, said you can trace every illness and every disease to a mineral deficiency. Nutrient deficiencies are the unheralded cause of most chronic diseases. And the fundamental naturopathic position is, if you're struggling with a chronic disease, it's not because you have a bad gene, it's because you have a bad doctor. It's because you're unwittingly eating food every day that's hurting your body, number one. And number two, your body has run out of the raw materials it needs in order to have a healthy heart, to have healthy lungs, to have healthy skin, to have healthy blood sugar, to have a healthy immune system, whatever. You don't get arthritis because you're getting older. You don't get type 2 diabetes because you're obese. You don't gain weight because you're lazy. These things happen to you because your body has run out of the raw materials that they need in order to get the job done. Happens to your automobile, doesn't it? If your tire runs out of air, what happens? Well, the wheels don't go round and round anymore. If your crankcase, your engine runs out of engine oil, the engine seizes. Was there anything wrong with the welds? Was there anything wrong with the metal? Was there anything wrong with the pistons in the engine? No. Yeah, that stuff was fine. You ran out of the oil. The engine seized. Well, you run out of calcium, you get high blood pressure. You run out of magnesium, you get high blood pressure. You run out of salt, you get heartburn. You run out of sulfur-bearing molecules and a handful of minerals, you get arthritis. You run out of vanadium and chromium and a number of other trace minerals, you get type 2 diabetes. Period. For goodness sakes, if you run out of vitamin D, you get rickets. Everybody knows that. You have a kid with rickets, you give him vitamin D, the rickets goes away. You have somebody with scurvy, scurvy. Johnny Depp's got the scurvy, You give vitamin C, it goes away. Interesting anecdote there. That's why the British sailors were called limeys. Because the Brits knew that if their sailors ate limes every day, they wouldn't get scurvy. They didn't know why, didn't know what vitamin C was back in those days, but they knew if their sailors ate a lime every day, they didn't get scurvy. So the British warships, right? Remember when the British ruled the 7 seas? Britain ruled the 7 seas? That was because their naval officers didn't get scurvy. Now, if you're fighting me and you have scurvy and I don't, who's going to win? Well, I'm going to win. That's why the British officers were called limeys, because they were forced to eat limes every day because they knew it. Well, they knew it way back then. Somehow we've dropped the nutritional ball. Actually, quite frankly, the MDs stole it and they buried it. And now it's up to us to show you how to get it back. Stick around. Faye in California is up when we come back.
If you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, if you are finally finished with expensive and ineffective MD treatments, and if you are frustrated with not knowing which nutritional supplements to take, you have come to exactly the right place. We are here to help. Log into eiffelhealth.com, click the contact button, and someone who has been working with Dr. Glidden will contact you and show you exactly what to do to recover your health. Go to eiffelhealth.com, that's eiffelhealth.com, and click the contact button now.
I love Jethro Tull. Don't you love Jethro Tull, ladies and gentlemen? If you like Jethro Tull, clap your hands. Let's go to California and talk to Faye about diabetes. Hello, Faye. Thanks for waiting. You are live.
Good morning, Dr. Glidden.
Good morning, Faye. What's going on?
We have 3 months working on this Youngevity program for my boyfriend. His blood sugar levels are about 200 to 300.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we're taking these at the wrong time of the day. He's taking 6 sweeties, 6 selenium, 6 ESAs, 2 scoops of Taney in the morning and 2 at night.
Well, how much does he weigh?
He weighs 250. He's 6'4".
Okay. And does he have type 1 diabetes? Is he insulin dependent or type 2?
Type 2.
And how long has he had type 2 diabetes?
About 10 years.
Okay. And is he doing anything pharmacologically for it? Is he taking metformin or anything else?
Right, metformin.
Okay. And is he still taking the metformin since he started the Youngevity?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So how do you know, how are you judging the effectiveness of the Youngevity program?
Only by the levels of the blood sugars that haven't changed.
Okay, so he takes his blood sugars, what, first thing in the morning?
Yes, he checks it first thing in the morning.
Okay, does he check it at any other time during the day, or is it just first thing in the morning?
And sometimes at night.
Okay, so there's a couple things to understand here. First of all, we need to take the right amount of stuff in order to get a therapeutic hit from it, right? You know, if you had a fire in your backyard and you tried to put it out with a squirt gun, well, that wouldn't be very effective. But if you tried to put it out with a fire hose, well, that would be effective. You're using water in both circumstances, but you just needed more. So that's one thing. The second thing is we need to do whatever we can to increase the absorption of the nutritional supplements, increase the absorption of the nutritional supplements. And we do that by modifying the diet, especially by eliminating wheat, barley, rye, and oats from his intake. So has he gone gluten-free yet?
He is gluten-free.
Okay. How long has he been gluten-free?
Just the last 3 months.
Okay. Well, so as long as he's been doing this, he's been gluten-free for 3 months, and that's a good thing. All right. So the next thing to do would be to just give him more sweeties. He needs more sweeties. So the dose that you're giving him now, and by the way, when it comes to medical nutrition, we're not exactly shooting in the dark, but different. What I'm trying to say is we have to start somewhere with the dose and then go up or down depending on what happens, right? So what I would do, given his body weight and given the amount of time that he's been dealing with the blood sugar issue and the metformin in his body, as an experiment for 21 days for 3 weeks, I would give him 4 sweeties 3 times a day. And I would give him the sweeties, if you can, about a half an hour before a meal. 4 sweeties 3 times a day, about a half an hour before a meal. I would give him 3 EFA plus 3 times a day with a meal, 3 EFA plus 3 times a day with a meal, and I would give him 1 ounce of the plant-derived minerals 3 times a day. 3 times a day. 1 ounce of the plant-derived minerals 3 times a day. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine dose is good. The OsteoFX dose is good. I would increase the plant-derived minerals. I would increase the EFA plus, and I would increase the sweeties for 21 days. Just 21 days as an experiment. And I'm going to bet you dollars to donuts that inside of those 21 days, he's going to notice a change in the blood sugar. Now, there's one other thing to consider here, right? That if somebody is nutritionally deficient so much that they have type 2 diabetes, then guaranteed there's other things that are going on in their body that are also related to nutrient deficiencies, but they've kind of gotten used to, right? So this begs the question, besides the blood sugar issue, in the last 3 months, has he experienced any noticeable positive change anywhere else in his body mind since he's been doing the nutrition?
Yes, he has noticed some differences. I know he's sleeping better.
Okay, so things are brightening up. Things are starting to happen. So there's only 2 things to do here. You just give the program more time, and or if he really kind of wants to see whether or not this is real or not, I would just up the ante for 21 days. And if you take that much of the stuff every day for 21 days, I would be very, very, very surprised if the blood sugar numbers didn't budge at all. Okay?
I know you've talked about this before, but I'd kind of like a refresh. He's a fan of just downing those tangy tangerine, and we mix it and stir it, but he'll just take that in one shot. Is that less effective?
Well, that's less effective if it gives him diarrhea. If he throws it down like that and he doesn't get diarrhea, he doesn't get loose stool, then he's lucky and he can tolerate it. So the most important thing is I would have him spread those doses out, and you're doing that, right? You're taking a couple of scoops in the morning, a couple of scoops in the afternoon, and that's good. I think really, Faye, I think he just needs a little more time here. You know, you're not going to get rid of 10 years of trouble in 3 months, but you are going to get rid of it. And the hallmark that we're on the right path is that other things start to brighten up, right? Mood gets better, sleep gets better, energy gets better, weight gets better, aches and pains get better, right? Everything kind of gets better while we're waiting for the big stuff to get better. That's what I would do. I'd either just tough it out at the dose that you're doing right now or up the ante for 21 days as a little in-house experiment to give him a little, more kind of results-oriented positive feedback. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, kiddo. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Glidden. We love what you do.
Hey, Faye, thank you very much. I couldn't do it alone, right? Without people like you, I'd just be talking to myself. And so what goes around comes around. I appreciate you just as much. Keep up the good work in California. Hey, my old friend Alaric in Texas is back. I wonder what's happening now. Alaric, Happy New Year. Bring me up to speed.
Oh, okay. Bad to say I had to go to the hospital to get rid of that water, but I learned a few things. That everything that has been going on for quite a few years is pretty much connected. I just started to figure that out. So I want to keep myself out of the hospital, and I want to start fresh. They took out like 2.5 gallons of water. So the stuff you gave me, that you recommended, the circulation formula, is that a great start?
Well, give me a little heads up here, Alaric. What extra information did you get from your experience with the men and the women in the white coats? Were they able to tell you that this was a heart issue, this was a kidney issue? I mean, what did they?
Well, they tried to blamed it on the heart, but before they blamed it on diabetes, so they just shooting in the dark. But they blamed it on the heart. They gave me some stuff for the heart, but I really kind of resisted it, and I don't want to do that. But, and then they gave me some Lasix, and they was pumping me with this stuff that's going to make me urinate this stuff out.
Yeah.
And then they gave me some other medicines for high blood pressure. Now they're going to blame that, and then they blame that. So I wanted to. The question that I really have is, if I start taking shots of cow toddy, would that help me with any high blood pressure issues I may have?
Well, it's possible, right? Because the first thing that we consider when we're dealing with high blood pressure is a lack of calcium and a lack of magnesium. So if we give people therapeutic doses of calcium and magnesium in addition to the 90, and the blood pressure does not budge at all, and the only other thing that the blood pressure could be related to would be a kidney issue. So with blood pressure, the first thing that we do is take more calcium and magnesium and see if the blood pressure budges. Now, this is interesting, though, Alaric, because the medical doctors have changed their standard over the last 30 years, right? When I was in medical school, I was taught correctly that someone has high blood pressure if they have 3 consecutive readings where both numbers are elevated above 140/90. Both numbers had to be elevated above 140/90 3 times in a row in order for someone to be diagnosed with, hypertension. And now a medical doctor is diagnosing hypertension if one number is elevated 1 time. So do you have any idea what your numbers were that made them?
They were high. They were like 190/80.
Well, that's
190.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 190/1. It was 160/80 or 74. It fluctuated.
Yeah, so you're borderline hypertensive. You don't have high blood pressure as far as I'm concerned. You have borderline hypertension because in order for you to be hypertensive, both numbers, the top number and the bottom number, have to both be elevated. So it has to be, the top number has to be over 140 and the bottom number has to be over 90. If only one of the numbers is elevated, you don't have high blood pressure. You have borderline high blood pressure, in my opinion. And this is, this is what they're doing. They're just doling out high blood pressure medication willy-nilly. It's just, they do the same thing with antibiotics, and that's why everybody now is developing antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, because the MDs are delivering medication willy-nilly. So, however, right, from my point of view, if those numbers are accurate, you would be diagnosed with borderline hypertension. And the first thing to do there, you have to get a blood pressure cuff. Do you have a blood pressure cuff?
I have the manual one, but I'm just learning how to work it, and I'm figuring, let me just get an electrical one. It'll just go pop, 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 and not do it like that.
Yeah, so you know what you want. That's not a bad idea, but what you want to do if you get one of those automatic ones is go to the local firehouse and walk inside and talk to one of the EMTs and have them take your blood pressure with their equipment and with your automatic equipment and compare the results. And that way you'll know whether your automatic equipment is accurate, right? And so
yeah,
that's the best way to do it. So once you have a blood pressure cuff at home, you want to take your blood pressure every day at noon, and write the numbers down. And in order for you, normal blood pressure is 140/90 is the high end of normal. So you want to see the numbers be there or below there, right? There or below there. And so I would do calcium, extra calcium, for 21 days, 1 ounce 3 times a day, or 1 ounce in the morning and 2 ounces immediately before bed, for 21 days, and see if that budges the numbers. Now, I think it's interesting that, they're saying, well, maybe it's your heart. I want to talk to you more about this when we come back, because I need a little bit of clarification here.
Everybody.
I'm glad that you called back, Alaric.
If you haven't
Hold
gone
on.
to
Glidden.healthcare yet. You're
Yeah.
missing out. Check it out. Lots of stuff happening there. Lots of stuff happening there at Glidden.healthcare. Become a Dr. Glidden advocate and join the ground swell of people all around the world who are finally getting bringing themselves into the light of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, just like Alaric in Texas has done. So, Alaric, we're back live. So, did the medical doctors do any imaging of the heart or do any testing to the heart and say, yeah, you have congestive heart failure? Or are they just speculating that you do?
They did something. They did the echocardiogram. They did something. They took some pictures. And I didn't even get that information yet. I just got out about 2 weeks ago. I didn't even want to go back over there. They wanted me to go to a heart clinic and everything, and I was considering doing that to get the information to see what they had to say. I think I'm going to do that.
All right. I tell you what. Get the information from them because it's yours. It's not theirs. It's yours. Call me back on the radio show, and I'll help you figure out what they are up to. You might have congestive heart failure. You might not. I don't know, but, we need to know moving forward, what's going on here. That seems like a reasonable diagnosis to me. I'm not really sure why they would need to send you to the heart specialist unless they're just trying to make more money, which I think is what they're probably trying to do. So if you can get a hold of that information and get back to me, I'd appreciate it. In the meanwhile, up the ante with the calcium, get the automatic blood pressure cuff, have it checked out at the EMT station and get back.
And your circular formulations, how should I take that?
The circulation formula?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would. Do you have it?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. So I gave you the circulation formula before because we were assuming that this was that this problem had something to do with the kidneys, and I'm not sure that it is a kidney. But since you have it, it's not a problem to take it. I mean, it's a good idea to take circulation support a couple times a year. The recommendation is half. What's your body weight, Alaric?
199.
Okay, so you do a half a teaspoon 3 times a day. 1/2 a teaspoon 3 times a day. You can do that between meals. You can mix it with juice. You can put it in with the Beyond Tangy, put it in with the calcium, or just take it straight. It's a half a teaspoon 3 times a day.
Thank you.
All right, Skipper, I appreciate it. Get back with me with that info. In the meanwhile, see if you can get that blood pressure normalized. Let's finish out with Mary in Oregon. Hey, Mary, Happy New Year. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. What's going on?
Happy New Year. Quick update. You had asked me to call back about a trigger finger that someone had, and you helped him.
Yeah.
I couldn't call back because it took him that long to order what you recommended. He is a believer, but he chooses to allow his life sometimes to exclude what we believe in.
I understand. It's a funny thing, isn't it, why people do that?
It is. Also, you wanted me to get a Geiger counter and check the fish here. No one in this town, even the institutions don't have one I could borrow. So, were you when you were in Portland? Did you have a chance to do it?
No, I did not. Regretfully, I did not.
Okay, well, I'll get one off eBay if you think I should still check it out.
I think it's a really good idea. I'd love to have a secret agent on the ground in the Pacific Northwest who can check this stuff out because, honestly, I just don't trust the government. And who else is going to do this? I mean, who's even going to think about doing this, right? And you can probably get a Geiger counter for $150, I'm thinking, maybe. But I would do that, Mary.
Okay, I will.
And call back in. I'm going to put you right to the top of the queue from now on when you call in. How's everything else going?
Well, what I called about today is I had colon therapy 3 times.
Yeah.
And this lady told me that she could pull the mucosal lining of my small intestine out with this certain cleanse. And I was wondering if, since the show's over, would you think about if Youngevity has any kind of cleanse that would achieve the same thing?
All right. You call me back tomorrow. First thing. Can you do that?
Well, I can't call till 7 after, but I will call.
All right. You call me tomorrow. I'll put you right to the top of the queue. I appreciate your support very much, and Happy New Year to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your steadfast advocate for health. Thanks for tuning in and turning on. God willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, live long and prosper.